the first official wrestling thoughts video and overall thoughts video of the new decade. 2020 is here. I'm trying out this new format right now. I'm looking at the camera on my Mac and looking on the camera on my Logitech Brio and testing out the microphone from a little bit of a distance with the thing built with the distance video recorder input built up. So we're here to talk about, well, Wrestle Kingdom, everyone. The first night of Wrestle Kingdom is officially in the books, and since I do not have an IWGP title, which hopefully will change one day, wink wink nudge nudge, I decided to bring out the big boy, the big gold belt, one of the most prestigious belts in the history of professional wrestling for a multitude of reasons, mostly because this is the one title belt that has never had title change besides the strap color, and that's mostly the alligator skin thing they did in the back in 2011, but that's a completely different matter. But this thing, holding the test of time since at least the late 80s. And the only difference ever was that when WWE brought it in, they put the WWE insignia because copyright reasons. But moving on from my praising of the big gold belt, the greatest title in all of wrestling history, we are here today to talk about Wrestle Kingdom and the stuff that led into it, and sure enough, the quality and the presentation of the show, since this was pretty much a big deal for a lot of people. Heading into Wrestle Kingdom, it was going to be like that, a Wrestle Kingdom event. And I have just got done watching the show. As you can tell, this is nighttime as the lights are on and everything. But yeah, I've been watching this bits and pieces, take breaks between the shows. I can't watch it live because it's in the middle of the night and I'm in bed. So, yeah. And when we heard that Wrestle Kingdom a year ago was going to be a 2-night event because, well, it's a 2-night event because that's never happened before. And then I had made this question on Twitter saying, should WrestleMania follow suit, since WrestleMania has been very overblown with its card in recent years and with its time length, that I thought maybe we should have WrestleMania be 2 4-hour shows, one for Saturday, one for Sunday. Really give the audience investment, because the last few years of WrestleMania crowd has been disastrous, exhausted, and zombified because of the long time constraints. I am so lucky I went to WrestleMania before the time constraints came in. So, yeah, so we head into night one. We're skipping the pre-shows, and unfortunately they did not have the legendary Stardom match that was going to be the first ever women's match at Wrestle Kingdom, because a lot of people were actually excited for this, because it was reported late last year, that Stardom was bought out by New Japan Pro Wrestling, and then they announced that, oh, well, there's going to be a special tag team women's match from the Stardom promotion that's going to be on the brand. It's going to be on the show, which a lot of people were excited for. Then it was revealed it was a dark match, and it's not even a pre-show match. So, yeah, it's just a sampler from the audience of what to expect if they start to integrate the Stardom women into New Japan Pro Wrestling stuff. But, and the pre-shows didn't really have that much to talk about, in my opinion, but that's my opinion on that when I watched it. So let's skip into it and go into the actual main card of the show. The first match being Jushin Thunder Liger's part 1 of 2 retirement matches, because Jushin Thunder Liger made the announcement that he was planning to retire at this Wrestle Kingdom and the next night, which is actually, let's see if I'm correct, it's within 4 hours of the time of this video's production. So we're nearing the end of Jushin Thunder Liger's extensive career, and I have never watched Jushin Thunder Liger. Like, I've heard of him, and I saw him in NXT TakeOver Brooklyn, and I did watch some old WCW matches he did, but that was when the WWE Network came out, so I never really watched him. Like, I never saw a show where he was on the card other than NXT TakeOver Brooklyn 1. So, yeah, it was, a little, I like, it's awesome that this guy managed to last so long in his career with this and has managed to make it this far and retiring in the new decade. That's an amazement. Plus, I need this for my sanity's sake because of what happened on Thursday night. We were only 3 days in. Anyways, before we get into the depressing stuff I don't want to talk about because for my sanity's sake, Jushin Thunder Liger would have a special 8-man tag team match with some veterans who also worked with him. Some came out of retirement, I believe. I didn't know any of these wrestlers. All I know is that they had a past connection with Jushin Thunder Liger and so on. And thus, okay, like, they just had to briefly explain what Jushin Thunder Liger's history with these guys were. And that would pretty much be it for me, in my opinion. And what we got at the end of this was, at this match, was actually a pretty entertaining matchup. It wasn't like going to be this masterpiece of wrestling because they're at this age and whatnot, and they can't really wrestle as much as they can because their bodies are slower, everything's more, and the wrestling style deteriorates, and, well, yeah, they can't really go at that level anymore. But, I was surprised to see a guy in his, 50s go ahead and do a suicide dive, and I was like, okay, look, we already have enough suicide divers with the Rock and Roll Express. We already have enough suicide divers coming out from giant people like Luke Harper and Killian Dane. Do you need to continue the trend of, hey, let's go ahead and say suicide dives aren't just for lightweights or cruiserweights? So, yeah, that was the biggest highlight for me in that match. But I could tell a lot of people were emotional about this because this was Jushin Thunder Liger's last match, and also it would be his final match the next night with Hiromu Takahashi. I'll get to him when I can. But, yeah, and to see all this coming together for him, it is pretty awesome to see that his career is being celebrated and all these people are coming to celebrate with him and have one last fun match and just have a match for good old time's sake. And yeah, I saw the emotion out of it. It didn't really last that long, surprisingly. It only lasted less than 9 minutes. It was at least 9 minutes and 10 seconds, I believe. I'm looking on 411 Mania to get clarification on this. And then we get these 6-man tag team matches. They don't really have, other than Zack Sabre Jr. proving once more how he's the master of joint manipulation in the most disturbing, cringeworthy way possible. These two 6-man tag team matches aren't really, big in the sense that they're supposed to be game-changing kind of matches. They're more like, we need a preview sampler for the coming night or for a upcoming major feud match. So, yeah, that was kind of going to be the case for this, so I wasn't surprised for this. What we got was Suzuki Gun versus LIJ. This is their night and their weekend, hopefully. Versus against Suzuki Gun of Zack Sabre Jr., Minoru Suzuki, Itachi, and Desperado. Against... Oh, this was an 8-man tag team match, sorry. And Evil, Sanda, Shigo, and Bushi. Yeah, like I said, there's not really that much to take away from this. This was a fun match. It was just to build up to another match between Zack Sabre Jr.'s British Heavyweight Championship from Red Pro because of their agreements. So it wasn't like, oh, this is a very important match. I'm like I said, Zack Sabre Jr.'s body manipulation again of joints and bones is really unethical. Oh god, I can imagine Vince would never want this guy to do those kind of moves because he would cringe. Because, how many times has bones been broken on his program? Is that really the wrestler's fault? So yeah, then we got the match between the Chaos versus Bullet Club match where Chaos came out victorious. However, here's the thing I'm going to say. Every time when I hear the name Hiroki Goto, I'm thinking Mortal Kombat. I don't know why that's the case. Every time I look at Hiroki Goto, I'm thinking is he a Mortal Kombat character? He sounds like a Mortal Kombat character. In fact, he could dress up in the Tensai from WWE outfit, where Lord Tensai gear, have the face helmet and whatnot, and the mask, and I could deck him out in thick armor like Shao Kahn with a cape, and I could imagine him being a Mortal Kombat character, and that's his entrance. That actually kind of sounds awesome now that I think about it. Let's get Hiroki Goto in Mortal Kombat. So, yeah, Hiroki Goto and Kenta, who's in New Japan now since last year around June. The reason why this was a preview match is because Hiroki Goto and Kenta had this big, intense feud. And if you've gone on my Twitter page, I asked a question: which image was more disturbing, the Walter Temple of Doom grab in the heart where he chops this wrestler and his chest just explodes with a crater, and it looks like he's digging in there to rip his heart out. And then you see Hiroki Goto in the middle of a clotheslining to Kenta from behind. His body all contorts and deforms. And I called it, and I asked the challenge of which one looks more gruesome, Walter's Temple of Doom chop or Hiroki Goto's clothesline of deformity? Because that's literally what it was. Like, I saw it and I was like, ooh, God, that was so gross looking. Oh, God. So yeah, this match was just a preview sampler for the next night's big match with Hiroki Goto and Kenta. And these tag team matches were really fun. They were just fun. Like, nothing really big could happen with them when they have only like less than 10 minutes to work with. But now we get to the big picture of the show. We get the first big match. IWGP Tag Team Champions, the Gorillas of Destiny, aka God, versus FinJuice, aka the team of David Finlay and Juice Robinson. So, I was trying to look at what was going on with this match, the story behind it, because I don't really watch New Japan, like, a lot. Like, a time where I can know what the hell all the stories have been. But, what I was reading about, Gorillas of Destiny had been holding the IWGP Tag Team Championships for 300 days for a little over 300 days, since G1 Supercard, I believe. And we all know how that run went, and we all know how that match when they won it went. Wow, Ring of Honor, you really screwed the pooch with Enzo and Cass by having them show up and not tell the New Japan officials. So, yeah. Meanwhile, FinJuice won the month-long World Tag League Challenge, and they had earned their right to challenge for the titles on the on Wrestle Kingdom night, and this would lead into a feud between them. And however, Juice Robinson also has a special matchup the next night where he would fight the winner of Moxley or Lance Archer's Texas Deathmatch IWGP US title. Okay, at this point we should just call it the hardcore title. Like, ever since Jon Moxley, well, really since Juice Robinson held it, beat Cody Rhodes, all of a sudden I'm thinking, is the IWGP title turning into the hardcore title? Because, let's be honest, when Jon Moxley won it against Juice Robinson, it was a glorified hardcore match, except without saying it's a hardcore match or any other type of weapon-based matchup, since they brought in chairs, they brought in tables, and they brought in blood at times. And then when Jon Moxley had to forcibly relinquish the title due to the typhoon that struck Japan, and he couldn't go there for a variety of reasons because of those reasons, and some people on the internet generally think that AEW somehow caused the typhoon to stop Jon Moxley from potentially dropping the title. Are you fucking kidding me? Like, there are actually people that generally believe that the Khan Dynasty goes ahead, funds a weather control device just to protect wrestling interests. I'm like, I can imagine Vince probably wanted to wish he could do that because he thinks he created heaven and earth, and he thinks he's God, and he had a match with God, and that was a disaster. And I'm surprised someone was pissed on that with that egotistical attitude he was presenting to people. But anyways, getting back to the overall stuff, Lance Archer and Juice Robinson had a no disqualification match, and Lance Archer won the title and subsequently held it up for months and had a reign of terror with it until Jon Moxley returned to challenge for it at Wrestle Kingdom in a Texas death match. So yeah, is it a hardcore title in all but name? So moving on, yeah, the challengers decided to just wait outside the ring for Guerrillas of Destiny and take the fight to them. That proved to be disastrous. Got their asses beat. The match in and of itself was pretty okay for me. There were some close calls in there for Guerrillas of Destiny. Like, I actually thought they were going to win heading into that match. And I was genuinely surprised that David Finlay and Juice Robinson would get the victory over this because, like I said, I didn't imagine them winning the match, especially with Juice having to focus now that he's going to that he has a chance to be Juice 2 belts. How about Rob 2 belts? That sounds better. Though, of course, it does sound like I'm trying to rob 2 title belts, and I only own 1. It has my engravements on it! That was the Emperor parts for a different time. So, yeah, this lasted for nearly 15 minutes, and yeah, it was kind of insane. Like to see David Finlay, and I was surprised with how Juice looked. Like, I was like, is he trying to be like Rick Rude, but without all this of the sass and swag? Like, that was the vibe I was getting with Juice Robinson's physical look, because I was like, okay, the mustache, the hair, like, are you trying to be Rick Rude for a sec? Because you will never be Rick Rude. There is no way in heaven or earth or even hell that you could be the new Rick Rude. Yeah, it just, like, I was surprised at his drastic transformation. Like, even when he was in New Japan, I was like, he still looks like CJP or CJ Parker, but at least he looked like a completely different character. But his physical appearance did look like CJ Parker, just with the Juice Robinson and everything. So, yeah, but now he's transformed himself. Like, this is the first time I watched Juice Robinson in a while. But people were asking, wait, why is Juice Robinson able to contend for the U.S. title if he's lost it? And lost it again and couldn't beat Lance Archer? Well, it was cited that Juice Robinson has a legitimate case because he beat Jon Moxley in the G1 Climax, and he beat Lance Archer in a non-title match, or before the title match. And that gives him they gave the reason that's why he deserves to be contending for the title at Wrestle Kingdom. So, yeah, when Juice and Finlay won, I was like, wow, that honestly was surprising. I don't know how I feel about that. Like, I really liked the Guerrillas of Destiny. I really started liking them more when they took the initiatives into their own hands and said we had enough of Cody and Kenny's BS and bullcrap. And yeah, I was really excited for what they could have done with Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa if they were deciding to take over Bullet Club, or they operated still with the whole mentality that there is no leader, everyone's Bullet Club, reminding me a little bit of, comment my nerdiness, Star Wars' Brotherhood of Darkness in the expanded universe. That I'm trying to remember that Sith guy's name. It was during the 1,000-Year War of the Jedi and the Sith, but I completely forgot what the guy's name was. But Darth Bane killed them all. So, yeah. So, yeah, once again, the Guerrillas of Destiny still haven't retained their titles and have lost consistently at the Tokyo Dome, so that sucks for them. And then I realized, And then the commentators pointed out that Tama Tonga and Tongaloa did not partake in the G1 Climax. In fact, they didn't wrestle a single singles match. They wanted to focus more on the tag team division and build that up more with the tag team belts around their waist and shoulders. And yeah, it was pretty amazing that they kept to that promise. But now, yeah, I'm wondering how this goes on for them now. In regards to the Guerrillas of Destiny's future, like, I'm pretty sure they'll get the titles back in about a month or two at best. Because, let's be real, I would not be surprised if that was the case. Now we get to the Texas Death Match between Lance Archer, IWGP United States Champion, and the Jon Moxley, or also known as Mox, or the Death Rider. And I must stress, that nickname is fucking awesome. And now, I have never watched a Texas Death Match. You may sue me for that, but I'll be honest with you. I have never watched a Texas Death Match. But I did look up the rules before all of this, and I had heard of I heard of it, I just never watched a match with it. But I looked it up. It's basically it's a no disqualification. Use all the weapons in the world. You have to have the opponent either give up by submission or be KO'd for 10 seconds. So it's basically a last man standing match in all but name, and weapons are more usable. Oh, and a submission's added. So it's like an I quit last man standing match kind of mix up, but not really. So, yeah, considering we're now fighting for the IWGP Hardcore title, because that's what it is at this point, considering that the IWGP US title only happened because they were preparing to expand to the US, but now those plans have been kind of, or really say derailed, not only because the Elite left, but because, how do I explain this? The AXS TV deal they had for several years now is dead. It's dead. You see, I found out from Cultaholic that apparently one of the ideas was that the deal was supposed to last until next January, 2021. However, after Anthem bought out AXS TV, and if you recall who Anthem owns, Impact Wrestling, that led to a lot of people wondering, well, where's this all going to go? So, New Japan was announced that they're no longer going to be on there, even though everyone was wondering why. And then it came out that Anthem proposed a new TV deal with them, or ultimatum, if you want to look at that way, where they said, oh, you can stay on our network and you can be as long as you want. Can you work with Impact, please? The continuing saga of Impact trying to get New Japan's good graces again. But because New Japan has not forgiven Impact for how they treated Okada when he was during his excursion, they're still pissed. Even though Okada has accepted their apology, Okada even says that there was one good thing he learned from there, which was how to be a character as opposed to just being a wrestler like he is in New Japan, whereas in the US he also has a character. But, fuck that, let's say, and we have to go ahead and have him be just a wrestler. So, yeah, this match, oh god. Lance Archer is a giant among men, and yeah, he does a high-flying maneuver off through above the top rope flip, crashing into all the Young Lions, proceeds to beat the crap out of all of them, then go in to fight Moxley. You got Mox, kid. You got Moxley. And, yeah. This match was brutality at its finest. Well, not as brutality at its finest like, say, Omega and Mox. But still brutal pretty much for New Japan Pro Wrestling standards. Like, they were throwing a lot of stuff at each other. Chairs, kendo sticks, because kendo sticks are now the most popular weapon to use. Like, the super kick is the most popular move to use nowadays. Moxley goes ahead and and gets his head drilled in by the helmeted spike that Lance Archer brought with him. And we all know that's gotta be brutal. And he was bleeding a little bit at the end of that. But when we reached the end of the match, however, that's where things got really intense. Because Lance Archer decided to say, I'm going to commit murder. So he grabs a plastic bag that he kept with him and starts to shove it in the face of Mox, even though that could literally kill you. And the commenters did point that out, that you could kill the guy. But, yeah, to see that was happening, I was like, wow. I hope they weren't really plugging his nose and everything, because that really would kill him. But then we got Moxley kicking out of that, surviving, and sure enough, he would go on to set up two tables, which, okay, the tables in the WWE and for a lot of wrestling promotions are very thin and whatnot, but they're long enough. Whenever I see the tables in New Japan or say AEW when they bring them in, they're smaller but more thicker. And I was like, I'm kind of mixed about this. I've been so used to the one table style, or with a special color design to match the attire of the characters, that I just never could picture those shorter tables being used in a wrestling match. But they go and use it, so yeah. So Lance Archer tries to go for a choke slam into the tables. However, Moxley says, fuck that. We're going to go and perform a Death Rider. Both of us are going to crash into the tables and cut our shoulders up. Because when the match was over, Lance Archer's shoulder was bleeding profusely at the whole event. At the whole fallout in that match. He tried to get up, couldn't. Moxley retains and proclaims his speech to the masses, saying he's ready for Juice Robinson and he's going all or nothing for this. It sounds like a pretty good AEW pay-per-view name. So, yeah, Moxley has been, once again, yeah, here's the thing, I love Mox in AEW, but I prefer his New Japan run over his WWE later run, and even some of his AEW run a little bit. I love his New Japan Pro Wrestling run the best. And once more, Moxley still kind of is pissed a little bit, I've heard from, based on what he wanted at Wrestle Kingdom. He didn't want this match or the Juice Robinson rematch. He wanted Minoru Suzuki, and we all know how that match would have went. That would be a fucking death match. But, yeah. So, it would be a freaking awesome match. But, the match I'm pretty sure I'm most excited to one day see, hopefully this year, is Mox versus Okada. The Death Rider versus the Rainmaker. Because, really think of it. Like, you have this style that Mox produces, hardcore finest, death-defying stunts. Okada is a pure wrestler. And now Okada has to learn how to gel with the Death Rider styles of wrestling. But so that would have been that'd be a very interesting match if they did it. And it would sell a venue for me because think about it. The Death Rider versus the Rainmaker. And you don't even need to put a title on the line. Just have that match, just put that name on the poster. It will sell. So now Moxley goes ahead and declares his intention to go ahead and leave Tokyo with everything or nothing. And will settle things for Juice Robinson once for all. And now we get to the top 3 matches of the night. IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship match between Will Ospreay, the champion, against the returning Hiromu Takahashi. Now, the story with Hiromu Takahashi is that he was very injured in 2018. He has suffered a severe neck injury. his career looked to be very on the end, and he was out for pretty much a year. He only had just returned at the end, near the end of 2019, and staked his intention to challenge Will Ospreay, who was really moving up on the card and really looking like he was going to compete for the heavyweight division and was ready for the heavyweight title belt. And I would kill to see that. But then they stopped that, I think, and then they gave him back the junior heavyweight belt. Though I'm hoping he does contend for the world belt eventually. And to hear that Hiromu Takahashi came back, it was like, the miracle is real! Yeah, and his cats and everything. He beats Natalia on that gimmick. But, yeah, here's the best freaking way to describe that match between Hiromu Takahashi and Will Ospreay. I am thoroughly convinced that Will Ospreay is made of elastic material. There is no way I can think a human body can move like that unless they have really, really small bones and they're just sacks of flesh. Could move that quick, could bend their body in ways, unless you're Zack Sabre Jr. manipulating them. You cannot tell me that is humanly possible. Hiromu Takahashi told a very great story. His tale to get back on the top of the mountain in his eyes. His redemption from what happened all those years, from 2 years ago. And then Hiromu won the match, and he couldn't beat Ospreay with his main finisher. Instead, chose to do a modified Emerald Flowerson for the win, a new finisher for him instead of the time bomb that he usually used. But yeah, what the f is Will Ospreay, for God's sake? Like, what is Will Ospreay? Is he rubber? Is he made out of rubber? Like, whatever bounces off of him and he gets to bounce everywhere, manipulate his body in ways that probably should not be possible? Like, how is that possible? And like I said, oh God. Can we please get Pac and Ospreay again? Can we get that? I want another one. And this time I want a decisive victor. Damn it. I want a decisive victor. I mean, that's the match I want to see more than anything, really. Like, oh God. This match was just bonkers. Especially the sequence midway into the match. Like, Ospreay goes for a fly. Hiromu goes ahead and tries to launch a German suplex. He escapes it, runs towards Hiromu again. Hiromu tries to throw him into the apron corner. Will Ospreay gets back in somehow, goes through the ropes, bounces off, and then collides finally into Takahashi. And I'm like, what the is he made of? Like, there's no way you can have this guy work that way and not be considered rubber. Or at least some elastic aesthetic to him. So, yeah, wow, this is the first match of the year contender already. That was quick. Now we get to the double gold dash matches. Or as I like to refer to it as, take it away.
4 men, 3 matches, 2 titles, 1 undisputed champion.
So, yeah, that's basically what this is. 4 men, 3 matches, 2 titles, 1 undisputed champion. Because that's what the double gold dash is, because, let's be real, that's what it is. Basically, after Jay White had defeated Tetsuya Naito and they had both expressed the desire to go to Wrestle Kingdom and become double champion, then it led to this culmination point with Okada and Ibushi confronting each other with Jay White after his match with Hiroki Goto, and Naito involved, staking their claims to it, even though Naito doesn't have a leg to stand on in terms of how that would work. Whereas Jay White, Ibushi, and Okada, for obvious reasons, have claims to do that match. Whereas, what does Naito have? He doesn't have a title. He doesn't have the G1 briefcase. Yeah, he doesn't have anything. Other than that, his name is Naito, and he's super awesome. But, yeah, it was decided in a fan poll. A lot of people were worried that Naito wasn't going to get the match. In fact, I thought we were going to get a fail four-way or triple threat match at best. At worst, it was probably going to be just a straight-up singles match, and JY just fights Naito, and it just leads to Naito getting the belt and then treating it like garbage again. But no, instead the fans, because they're all behind Naito, decide, you know what? 4 men, 3 matches, 2 titles, 1 undisputed champion. So it was decided that it would be, why not all of it? Because now it was decided that Wrestle Kingdom Night 1 would feature the IWGP Intercontinental and Heavyweight Championships in respective 2 matches, where Tetsuya Naito versus Jay White and Okada versus Ibushi would fight each other, and then we would get the match that unifies it, that gives the double gold dash meaning. And then we would get a special exhibition match between the losers of the match, of those 2 respective matches. So really, it could have went either way. If Jay White won, Naito would have fought the loser of Okada and Ibushi, or the other way around, or vice versa. So it would have been. So really, we're being given a promising big match for the next night, and that just has 1 day of build up, unless you use past continuity. So, we get to Jay White and Tetsuya Naito, the first of the 3 matches. This was a phenomenal psychological matchup. Like, you get Jay White, who's just so... I know a lot of people are not really liking him because they don't see the big deal in him, but is his psychology and in-ring aesthetic and acting that really kind of gives him a huge contendership in the future. In fact, a lot of people have said his style is so slow and methodical, and I was thinking, that does remind me of somebody. Wasn't there the guy who wrestled full time? Yeah, here's the thing. I know what I'm about to say is kind of insane. I actually think Jay White might be a younger version of Triple H, when Triple H did his whole in-ring general style, whereas Jay White kind of does the same thing in my opinion, and Jay White focuses more on the psychological aspect of wrestling, whereas everyone else just does like these phenomenal spectacles, and they're good, but yeah, Jay White tries to do the like I said, Triple H and Jay White have a little bit of similarities with the psychological aspect in wrestling, whereas like you got Shawn Michaels, who did all the high flying and all the crazy stunts and spectacles he did. Then you got Triple H doing these psychological matches, the psychiatry to it, and all the small moments into it, the small subtlety in it. Back when he went before his quad tear, and maybe a little bit during his 2003 to 4 run Reign of Terror days, but then he settled more for brutal style and hardcore wrestling. But this was a pretty awesome psychological matchup. And I like when Jay White wears the white gear, or he comes off like he's thinking he's some sort of savior to a lot of people, even though he's the villain of the story. And I've heard the stories of how 15 people left the building when White won his match because they were that pissed off with him. Like they stayed to boo him throughout the match. They want the face to beat his ass, and he went. And when he wins, the crowd's just pissed and walks out instead of throw garbage in the ring. Like, I know people would say Baron Corbin gets that react. Doesn't Baron Corbin get that reaction? Okay, he gets go away reaction for a lot of people, including Lacey Evans to an extent. But you don't get a reaction where the fans pay to see you get your ass handed to you by the face, but when the heel wins, the fans are just that pissed, and they just walk out of the building. And this is usually the main event of the match. This is never like the middle of the card. So yeah. So this was a fun psychology game between Naito and Jay White. I was rooting for Naito for obvious reasons because, damn it, Naito 2 belts needs to happen and Naito needs to get his dream, damn it. Like, that's the story Naito has. Like, Naito is basically the Daniel Bryan in this scenario. He's going into this match with nothing to add to it other than his past accolades. And he also has a very tortured past when it comes to the Intercontinental title belt because of what it did to him. And how he was initially seen by fans. But then you got this whole stuff going on with him in terms of, well, he has a he had knee surgery. He's having to fight. He has to probably fight Okada or Ibushi the next night. He kind of reminds me a little bit of Daniel Bryan's WrestleMania moment, where Daniel Bryan had to head into the match with a busted up arm and shoulder when Triple H beat him up for like a few weeks when he handcuffed him, and Daniel Bryan had to beat the game, and he had to pretty much beat all of Evolution. That's not Ric Flair. Like that's what Naito is doing at this very moment. He's trying to create his big moment where he becomes where he inherits the throne. So, yeah, to get on top of the world. And I was rooting for Naito the whole time. I love the story he's been given. He's pretty much unknowingly crafted. I have a hard time believing they planned all this. At least they'll be probably honest and say, yeah, we didn't plan this. This all happened by accident. So... So, at the end of the day, Naito defeats Jay White. And then you gotta also remember who Jay White, Okada, and Ibushi are. You got Jay White, the guy who was meant to become the next foreign star to overthrow Omega because it was clear that he was parting ways and they had to give him the run more so than ever. But he was painted as the next Kenny Omega, the next foreign wrestler since AJ Styles and Kenny Omega were having their runs and whatnot. And then you got Ibushi, who's been around for so long, and when he almost did go somewhere else, and now he signed an exclusive contract to be in New Japan. Now they can bank on him and all his momentum. And then you got Okada, the Golden Boy, and okay, this is the part where I'm going to say I am a little worried that Okada could probably win the whole thing because of what he's going to do later this year. He is going to go and carry the torch for the Olympics this year in Japan. When I heard that, I was like, well, that's a career. That's the end. There's no way you can top this. You could literally win the title 500 more times, run the title for 20 years. There is no way that can top carrying the goddamn torch for the fucking Olympics. There's no topping it. There's no stopping it. Like, you might as well look at your world title belt. Well, it's time for me to pass the torch. I've done everything. Like, how do you top that? How do you top that again? I'm really asking this. But, yeah. So, yeah. So, yeah. Jay White was awesome. Naito was awesome. I love the, but it was a very good psychological matchup. It was pretty awesome. Lasted for a little over 30 minutes. And then they confirm the attendance is 40,008. Just 8 more people to break the record. But yeah, now Naito is heading into Wrestle Kingdom 2, Wrestle Kingdom 14 Night 2, as the co-main eventer. Now it's a matter of who will be the one that he has to fight to regain the title he should have won 2 years ago. Kazuchika Okada or Kota Ibushi. And yeah, here's a story I found out about Ibushi. Like, late in the year after he won the G1 Climax from Jay White, it's kind of looking like Ibushi is slowly turning to the dark side. Like, I'm not sure if that's the case, but who knows. But he has done very unethical things, like hitting Okada straight in the head with a briefcase, going ahead and beating the crap out of Okada when he's being carried into the back. It's like, Ibushi, did Kenny leaving make you go crazy? And when the match finally went down, it does kind of look like Ibushi is being tempted by the dark side. Like, yeah, I was looking at this match and thinking, yeah, this is, how do I explain this? Yeah, it does kind of look like, yeah, it looks like Ibushi is very leaning towards the dark side. He's becoming more and more, less Golden Star, more Dark Star. Yes, I'll slap myself for that comment later. So yeah, what we got at the end of this match was a near 40-minute spectacle of high-flying, storytelling, clotheslining. Oh my god, how the hell is this match a masterpiece? And oh my god, this better get 6 stars from Dave Meltzer just for the hell of it. And I honestly, I felt like that Okada was winning this match, but I was almost gonna think, is Ibushi gonna do it? Is he really gonna do it? He's really gonna do it. He's really gonna win this match. Like, because there were moments where I thought Ibushi had it. Like, he had shot 3 V triggers at him, did the Rainmaker of his own. Okada kicked out at 1, so that's amazing. You never get that anymore. And the sheer awe of it is what makes it so unique for people, because they don't see that kind of stuff happening anymore, where wrestlers kick out at 1, unless it's Bray Wyatt. Or when we got Gargano and Ciampa for their last man standing match, when they were knocked each other down, the ref counted at 1, they get back up and start trying to kill each other again. But yeah, Okada and Ibushi delivered this very phenomenal matchup. 401 Mania even said that, felt like a great hybrid of Okada versus Tanahashi and Nakamura versus Ibushi. And saying that is pretty much basically going insane. I also noticed that he didn't try to do the Kinshasa, Ibushi. I didn't recall him trying to do that in the move, in the match. So maybe... And then we got this stiff moment where Ibushi punches Okada in the skull, and the ref's trying to stop him from continuing his punching to the skull, and he's just giving this dead look in his face, like he doesn't care, like he's just going to inflict punishment on him. And I'm thinking, like, is this a heel turn? I get the feeling he's turning heel. Is he crossing the dark side? And let's be honest, if they actually did do this, can the storyline reason be because Omega left and he feels betrayed? In fact, if AEW and New Japan were to partner up, that would make more sense. Like, imagine it. Ibushi is now a villain character, and Omega is trying to bring the Golden Lovers back. And then, Naito at the end of the show arrives for a standoff post match and says tomorrow is his chance to beat Okada again and walk away with both championships. Okada then thanks Ibushi for the fight and of his life, and thanks the fans before saying he'll win tomorrow night and how he'll make it rain. So yeah, the usual. Also, when I was discussing this with some people about how I feel like I want Naito to someone told me Noah Foster. Let me just find it. We were talking about this on Twitter. When I was talking about this about what would happen if Naito wins. I said that that's part of his story, the Intercontinental title, the title that the hatred that he developed for the title some Wrestle Kingdoms ago, and abuse he gave it is now the gateway to getting his dream, the main event in the Heavyweight Championship. And Noah said this to me. I wonder if he wins, will he look at both and throw the IC one to the wayside and only leave with the heavyweight since he achieved what he finally wanted? And then I said, honestly, I hope he raises both. Despite his feelings, the IC title that he despised ultimately gave him his dream. It'd be a symbolic and emotional moment. Noah then agreed, saying, also finally burying the dark burden of his past that the IC title has brought forth to him. The ultimate evil has become the anti-hero he needed the whole time. That's what I hope to see. Midnight can't come soon enough. So, yeah, and I definitely agree with that. So overall, this show, fucking awesome. I cannot wait for night 2. And for the ultimate rating system I developed, I gave Jushin Thunder Liger's match a 3-star. LIG for Suzuka Gun 3.25. Kiosk versus Bullet Club at 3.25. GOG versus Finna Juice 3.75. Lance Archer versus Mox at a 4-star. Osprey versus Takahashi at 5.5. White versus Naito at 4.75. And Okada versus Ibushi at 6 stars. Those were my personal ratings on that. And I can't wait for night 2 because it's going to be fucking awesome. So, yeah, heading into night 2, it's going to be the biggest night in wrestling because now there's a lot more at stake now, because not only do you have the Double Gold Dash coming to an end, you have the biggest match that could probably define this current decade, this new decade of wrestling. You got Hiroshi Tanahashi versus the Painmaker, Chris Jericho. And if Hiroshi Tanahashi can somehow dig down deep, perform one last miracle, he may actually open the gateway, the forbidden door, as they have been calling it, between New Japan Pro Wrestling and AEW. Because it's agreed by both AEW and New Japan Pro Wrestling and by Jericho that if Jericho loses to Hiroshi Tanahashi will earn a shot at the AEW World Championship. Which means Hiroshi may show up on AEW Dynamite and main event Revolution probably, if they go that route. But, and there's a lot of unknown factors heading into that night because a lot of people are betting on Hiroshi Tanahashi and people are fearing Jericho might win. And even AEW fans are like saying, Jericho lose! You gotta do this for the wrestling industry! Like, now Hiroshi Tanahashi has to do this impossible goal now. And I would say, okay, it's not really impossible because, let's see, he brought New Japan Pro Wrestling out of the Dark Ages. Now he has to end the bad blood between AEW's Elite Group and the New Japan Pro Wrestling Committee. So, heading into tonight, at the time of this video, this match could change everything for wrestling, for AEW, for New Japan Pro Wrestling, and then now you got this big emotional match with Jushin Thunder Liger's final match. You got this vindictive personal match between Hiroki Goto and Kenta, and now you got Naito's chance to fulfill his destino. And now, the future could be defined in the coming hours. So, can't fucking wait for that. Wrestle Kingdom 14 Night 1 is over. This was Neo Reality Entertainment. Welcome to 2020 and the next decade. I'll see you all literally tomorrow with the next thoughts video, and hopefully this uploaded with it as well. I can't wait to show you. I can't wait for all of this to come together. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and donate. Stay tuned for more. See you all soon, and Destino. Tranquilo.